right of the people, baby.
To truly choose to love is heroic.
Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people. And we're going to have to put it back in the hands of the people.
It takes the willingness to stand by and do what has to be done when it has to be done.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Off The Shelf Bookclub, episode 6, section 5. We're excited for y'all to be here with us, and we appreciate y'all. Remember, if you have any comments, concerns, or questions or answers to the questions that we leave, feel free to drop them in the comment section, reach out to our social media DMs, or drop it in our email. That will all be linked in the description. And we look forward to talking to you guys about the chapters 12 and 13. 12 about class, 13 about space. And we're excited to get this kicking, but let's start with our land acknowledgement.
For our land acknowledgement, the Off The Shelf Book Club wants to offer our utmost respect to those who came before us on this land. It is important that we protect and acknowledge the history of the indigenous people of America. Minnesota Makoche, which means the land of the water that reflects the sky, is the homeland of the Dakota and Anishinaabe people. Minnesota, in its history, has taken a part in the genocide of Native people and multiple treaties that have stripped them from their homelands. Where Off The Shelf Book Club resides is home of the Midewiwin people, which means dwellers of the Spirit Lake. Off The Shelf Book Club will do whatever we can to honor the Native people and their lands and do what we can to aid in their land back.
All right, awesome. So let's start kicking off with chapters 12 and 13. The questions that we have for 12 and 13 is first with 12 about class. Why do we assume something is a culture or a behavior and not a system issue?
How can we ensure our socialist and communist spaces are anti-racist?
What are the consequences when we divide ourselves between classes, and how can achieving class consciousness help society? Chapters 13, space.
How do we move away from racializing spaces?
What would it take to start holding individuals accountable for their actions and not the spaces they are in? Just to start it off, what were your thoughts about this section?
I thought it was a pretty interesting section in how it talks about class and the idea of space and how we use space, take up space, how we name spaces or generalize spaces in that way. And the examples that I feel like he used in particularly with that chapter, and how like he talks about a student that he or a peer of his, right? And how she had such a poor attitude about FAMU, which was the college that he went to for his undergrad, and it being only because they messed up their transcript and transferring it, and her blaming the entirety of the college rather than just an individual person.
Right.
I think like it was a little introspective because I think we've all done that before.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely been victim of that. Doing that.
Somebody messes up your order, it's fuck McDonald's or shit. Like, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's real. I've been guilty of doing that, definitely. And it's hard, especially in the moment, it's hard not to,
Mm-hmm.
But, it just takes a little bit of being empathetic of everyone's perspective and understanding establishments, because like the whole HBCU conversation he had within the book, I really appreciated. Because it is like it kind of is he answered our part of our question, just like, who is it to blame? Is it like the culture? Why are we putting like blaming the culture or the behavior and not the system? You know, because at the end of the day, we all are like products of our environment, good or bad. You know? And we just we have to start taking in that like everybody comes out of that environment very differently.
Right.
You know, just like your siblings, you may grow up in the same household with the same parents under the same rules ish. You know what I mean? And like it would be, you guys all come out differently because that's just how we are as humans.
Right. All right. The question that we're going to get into is, why do we assume something is a culture or behavior and not a system issue? And so like he talks about in the book about how this man, what's his name? Oscar Lewis, who was an anthropologist, basically talks about on page 53, 54, that children of impoverished people, namely poor people of color, were raised in behaviors that prevented their escape from poverty, perpetuating generations of poverty. And then later on, 54, at the beginning, he says that Lewis reproduced the elitist idea that poor behaviors keep poor people poor. And then he goes on to like name other people who have pushed this narrative. So like on the next page, he talks about how Obama himself, and he says Obama made a similar case during his campaign speech on race in 2008 for all of those who scratched and clawed their way out to get a piece of the American dream. There were many who didn't make it, those who were ultimately defeated in one way or another by discrimination. That legacy of defeat was passed on to future generations, those young men and increasingly young women who were seized standing on street corners or languishing in our prisons without hope or prospects for our future. And so like I think it's a really crazy like idea that we would genuinely just be like, oh yeah, because they couldn't do it themselves, then that just gets passed on for generation, when that like actually is in a way far from the truth. Like studies show that people who go through lots of like ups and downs, right, in their lives have more resilience and actually end up being better than those who kind of already have it set up.
Who get a silver spoon, yeah.
And so, like, not only are you saying things that aren't true, you're dismissing the fact that, like, black people in particularly in this country have done everything but, like, or have done everything to survive and, like, establish a place in America, which is a lot of hard work. And so you can't say that it's behavior. You have to say that it's a system issue. And I think the biggest thing about this is that the people who are saying this are the people that are actively have the power to uphold the system, who, like Obama, right, where he could do things to change it, but instead he decides to play into this role that it's behavior that he's bringing, like when he's saying this, he's bringing down his own people.
Right. Instead of investing into his own people, he invested into bombing people that look like him across the country or across the ocean. Like, and he's blaming us. And then they continue to make billions and trillions of dollars to fund that bombing or the funding of the police and killing us in our streets, instead of funding us in our education, funding us in food and social programs. And you want to blame us. You make money off the back of us. This shit's so ass backwards. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. The fuck is wrong? Like at the end of the day, billionaires and the millionaires and these billionaires are not. They got all the damn tax cuts. We're the ones paying the fucking taxes here. And you're trying to put blame on us. The everyday civilian. Y'all the motherfuckers who could actually do something about it. And you're blaming us. And it's easier to do that. And they want, like, people like Obama want you to believe you're the issue and not him, because he benefits from it. And as long as they could keep us all delusional that we're the issue and they're not the issue, we will never sit there and start going after heads. We'll never actually start doing what needs to be done if we don't start look at them in the eye and telling them what the fuck it is. We are not to fucking blame of it. Like, all crime is damn near every time related to poverty. In poverty, to be impoverished in the richest country in the world, there's an issue within that. Point blank, period. And it's not the people. It's the system. Because we talked, like how he talked about it here, he talked about capitalism is twin sisters with racism. Mm-hmm. They're like, they coexist. They can't
exist without one another. They exist together.
Capitalism needs a hierarchy in everything. That's why we also have, like, patriarchy. That's why we have we're homophobic, we're transphobic, we create others, because that's how you make money. That's what creates profit. And they want you to assimilate and get into proximity to that as much as you can. So they brainwash you and think that you're the issue. And that you try to do the behaviors of them while you're still poor, and it don't work like that. Mm-hmm. And there was a statistic he had in here where it was talking about how white collar crimes were the biggest robbers of tax money, period. I can't remember the exact numbers or find the page at this second, but I do remember that burglary, like average burglary that you hear about, costs maybe $4 billion a year.
Yeah.
And then you got fucking white collar crimes where they're doing tax evasion and tax frauds and these cuts. That shit costs about 600 to 800 billion per year. We are not the issue. If somebody running up in your house, they probably need something. Mm-hmm. Somebody trying to make a run around on taxes, they just worried about their pockets. They're just trying to get fatter. Well, eventually they'll be nice and plump for us when we eat the rich. Because that's what it's going to have to come down to. The next question we got here is, how can we ensure our socialist and communist spaces are anti-racist? And I think that what we have to do is just not tell people to let go of their identity, because I think that we are all scarred from what capitalism has done to us and racism has done to us. So we can't let go of being black. You can't let go of being white or Asian or whatever race that you want to be, or race that you are, sorry. And we have to hold those while also treating everybody with equity. And equality isn't what we're, I think what we got to forget the word equality and put the word equity in, because equality is truly not covering all bases. And I think that that's how we do that.
I don't think it means to forget equality. It just means that equity needs to be used just as much, because equality is still extremely important.
Yeah.
People do need equal footing. People also need equity, because there are just people who need more to get to that equal footing.
Yeah.
And so that's where that space. So we need equality. We also need equity, because equity is how you reach equality.
Right. Thank you for that. Yeah. What do you think about that, though? Making spaces anti-racist?
I think that, like, because of how America in particularly, but you can also just say the world, because I hold racism and even like capitalism to an extent, right? Having racism spew into those different spaces can be really easy, depending on who takes up those spaces, who comes in. You know, a lot of times, like I think both I think all leftists and liberals can spew racism.
Yeah.
But especially white leftists and white liberals. And if they're online leftists, it's even worse. But those things still seep through, no matter, like, I guess I shouldn't even say how much you try not to, because I think that there's a space where they're not trying not to, per se. And so, like, it's important for us to check ourselves and check each other, but we need to learn how to do it in a way that's not damaging relationships and, like, genuinely, like, burning bridges, because that's happening way too much now. It's like, you say something that's not okay, which I think, like, we need to start understanding. The reality is that because things change over time, things that were okay once are not okay now. And as we learn and we grow, we're gonna say things that aren't okay, right? That are wrong, that shouldn't have been said. Everybody's gonna do that. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
So, like, calling people in, for example, right? Like, that space, right? Rather than, like, calling people out, doxing them, like, telling them to kill themselves, doing everything in their possible, like, your possible space to, like, tear them completely down, doesn't do anything. It just creates another exclusionary measure, which is not what we're trying to do. We want everybody to benefit from these spaces, these socialist, communist spaces, because that's what they're meant to do, right? They're meant for everybody, unlike capitalism. And so we need to start calling people in and not completely, like, disintegrating people in these spaces. And I think that is how you move towards an anti-racist space, because I'm not going to sit here and act like these spaces aren't or are anti-racist. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not with who a lot of the people make up these spaces right now. It's not. So in order to move that way, that's a really big part of it.
Truly. And we have to just make sure that the spaces are safe spaces for education. We have to educate people and also give. You have to be comfortable to learn from everyone. From everyone. You may have not grown up around someone who is transgender, or ever really had any experience with someone who's transgender. So when someone who is transgender tells you, hey, when you do this, that makes me uncomfortable, then okay. Or you never grew up around black people, or you never grew up around this person or this person, whatever. You just have to learn to take criticism, constructive criticism from other people, as well as we all need to learn how to give constructive criticism. Because in a space of, if we want to get to a space of actually healing from this capitalistic racist society that we live in, we have to have those conversations and learn how to coexist with each other after the conversation. Because not every conversation leads to a cutoff. And you can't cut off the rest of the whole nation.
Right. And, you need to not be doing none of that bullshit that's like, well, this person who's this, whether it's transgender, black, or whatever, right, part of a marginalized space, said that this is okay. That's dumb. Don't say that shit. If somebody in the space that you're in says, I'm uncomfortable when you do this, you need to hold space for them when you all are together and learn and change.
Right.
When y'all are around each other. Because there are people out there, part of those marginalized communities, that nobody needs to be fucking listening to. Yeah. Because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Yeah. There are people that are a part of each and every community that are like that. So, you just need to be able to change when you're around people that honestly have the bravery and the comfortability to even come up to you and say that they feel uncomfortable, or that this is wrong that you said.
And it's not that hard to change your language. We do it every day. You know what I mean? We change our language every day depending on the people that we are around for respectful reasons.
Right.
You know what I mean? It kind of don't listen to everybody. Everybody in the marginal, everybody that is a person of color or just overall in a marginalized community does not speak for the whole community. That's just period, like what you were saying. And that reminds me of people saying the nigga pass. That shit's stupid as fuck. And you do that shit around the wrong person, you're gonna get fucking slapped. Rightfully so. And it's not hard to do that. And you shouldn't, that shit don't exist. It shouldn't exist. But it's not fucking crazy. It's not a crazy thought. And learning how to adjust your language, it reminds me of growing up around Grandpa Ben. My Grandpa Ben, he's not cool with us saying nigga. He ain't cool with us saying nigga. He ain't cool with nobody saying nigga. Cause I ain't a nigga. He grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. During and post Jim Crow. So he experienced that word, and I can't. My dad don't say it around him. None of his siblings say it around him. We all learn to filter that because out of respect for our elder.
Right. You're not gonna go you're not gonna go into work. You're not gonna necessarily go into school and start cussing up a fucking storm. It's because of the environment that you're in.
Right.
You don't do that.
Right.
You do that in places that are right. And you shouldn't be listening to everybody. If you out here fucking listening to Clarence Thomas, don't be doing that dumb shit. He's somebody in the black community that you shouldn't listen to a fucking word that comes out of that man's mouth.
There's a certain word for those type of people, like Clarence Thomas, Ben Carson. those, what is it, trash pandas?
Trash pandas?
Trash pandas. That's what we're going with for today. Because we ain't trying to get demonetized.
I know, but trash pandas, like a rat. Oh. Yeah. Trash panda ass niggas. Goddamn Clarence Thomas. Can't stand them, man. Be ready to fight. But yeah, we just have to ensure that we are creating the space of teaching and let go of hierarchy, man. Learn to think about where do the standards in your diction come from? What is normal to you? Why do you think that's normal? Things like that. Mm-hmm.
There's a part in there. I've been sucking today at finding the parts in the book where it's talking about it. But yeah, like what is normal? And once you start deconstructing that way of thinking, you can start to reassess your language, period, and start speaking life into you and speaking more positively about yourself, about the people around you, people you love, and the people that you will learn to know in the future and learn to love in the future. It's just like learning to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why so many people are so opposed to that. Do you really want to stay stagnant your whole life? That shit sound boring as fuck. Boring as hell. Yeah, actually, here it is. I found it on 152. We got on page 152, second paragraph. A psychologist, Kenneth Clark, in 1965 book Dark Ghetto, Pathology, meaning a deviation from the norm. Poor blacks in the ghetto are pathological, abnormal. Abnormal from whom? What group is the norm? White elites, black elites, poor whites, poor Latinx, Asian elites, the native poor. And like, what is the norm? And I think that a lot of the times what we do, and that reminds me of like the norm of how on TikTok, there's a blessing in TikTok. We get to learn about other communities and their little drama that they deal with. And something that I've learned about is this common thing that I think the black community deals with a lot too, is I heard Mexican people talking about how their families, specifically like their uncles, once they start getting a job that has like a good pay or some salary or some benefits, that they become a Republican. And I think a lot of the times, because in this capitalistic society and racist society, our norm is the white elite. Mm-hmm. And we're trying our best to get into proximity within that. And why is that what you want to be in proximity to? Because if I think about the white elite,
I don't want to be
near
that bullshit.
We talking about the island, dog. We talking about the island.
No, thank you.
We talking about the hooded fellows. We talking about the niggas that fucking sat here and gave a whole genocide to a whole nation of people. Talking about people who human trafficked millions of Africans.
Who be stealing artifacts.
Who be, to this day, stealing artifacts. They don't know how to keep their hands to themselves. And this is the white elite. And this is who you want to be in proximity to.
This might be a really hot take on my part. But especially in terms of, right, like, people turning into Republicans and being Republicans. I know people are like, well, like, with regular Republicans and stuff like that we would know today, that isn't even as, like, before they were as extreme as they were, like, in terms of, like, pushing forward. Like, you know, people say, like, that's fine with being friends with and stuff like that and whatnot. I can't sit here and get myself, at least personally, to look at things that Republicans stand by, even with what was normalized, right, and normal, and, like, actually, like, be friends with you.
No.
And, like, because nothing about that seems like it's actually, like, for the people. I mean, hot take, like, and so, like, I'm not, sorry, you're a Republican, even if, like, you're not, like, a crazy, like, ass Republican like some of these people are today, I can't be friends with you. Because, like, our beliefs are so different, even on, like, the basic level. I can't get with that personally.
It's a moral difference.
That don't mean that I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna be rude to you. I'll be kind.
I might be rude.
Maybe. Probably would avoid talking to you, though, to be completely honest. But if I do have to talk to you.
Honestly, I'm willing to talk to you as long as you're not one of them, like, if you're one of them just out there, I'm aware if you repping politicians on your sweater and shit, like Republicans on your sweater or your hat, you wearing them. If you wear a MAGA hat, nigga, you lucky I don't knock your shit out. Like, that's just, it's just, there's lines to it. If you are a person who I feel like we can have a conversation and I, like, maybe we can actually build on this. Because I think that a lot of people genuinely want the best for the country. And I think that goes for Republicans or Democrats, left, right.
Right, but it just, like, that's not it. And, like, for me, and I think part of it is, like, I think there's a generational space to this, but I think it also is, like, I think it's a white people space to this, is, like, people being so upset when they find out their friends are, like suck and, like, have these, like, really, like, right-wing beliefs all of a sudden. And it's like, well, like, that don't happen to me. Why? Because I surround myself with people that have the same ideals.
Yeah.
And I'll never not do that. Right? Like, I'm sorry. I would think that I would know right off the bat if you were for, like, the right to choose in terms of abortion.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you might have to go. You might have to go.
And it's really sad that we've gotten what the politics in America has always been. Because stop thinking about it like, oh, since Trump has been in office, this is what it's been about. No, it's always been in here. We're on drugs. Bill Clinton was a fucking dickhead. George Bush, dickhead. Obama, dickhead.
George W. Bush, dickhead.
All the Bushes, dickhead. Like, it has always been bigger than this left or this Republican. They're all dickheads. And they've been doing these things that are just immoral for the longest time. And we sit here and say, oh, we can't let politics break up friendships. When people's rights are on the line, when you are attacking communities, I'm gonna look at you some way if you back in the side that's doing it. And at the end of the day, a lot of times it's both sides that are fucking doing it, and we got to start looking at it like that. And the morality thing here is that if you sit here and say that, okay, you don't think that women should have the right of choice, that's morally fuck you.
Which
morally fuck you
is another hot take, but, like, politics have never not had rights on the line.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Especially in America, like, rights have always been on the line.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And even with the like change in like ideology for parties, like the same parties on the same side every single time. I need us to understand that even with the change in party ideologies. Cuz everybody want to talk about that, but like it's still the same.
Yep.
And
they both are capitalistic.
Like, it's always been that way, no matter how you want to say that it's not. Like, even when we talk about taxes and who gets taxed more than the other, like, it's still about rights and human rights and how that affects people. Mm-hmm. That you all of a sudden strip them away from certain things because you decide to tax certain people more than others.
That part.
Like a lot of people fail to see that this isn't new because it's always been this way. Mm-hmm. Throughout the like creation of America in particularly, there's always somebody's rights on the line that has to become a new amendment, a new policy, whatever it is. This isn't new.
Mm-hmm. That's how we profit. We profit off the suffering, off the backs of suffering. From the start of America. When has it ever stopped? Please tell me. Like, I have yet to ever hear someone say, like, when did, like, that stop? When we stopped massacring Native Americans, that never stopped.
No, man.
When we stopped enslaving people,
that definitely didn't stop.
Never stopped.
This in the Constitution.
Yeah, go read the Constitution, fuckheads. Like, we gotta...
Or is it the Bill of Rights? I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, it's an amendment.
It's in one of those
13th
things.
Amendment.
You should probably go read them anyways.
Yeah, 13th Amendment. But we can't... When you act like this shit ain't changing lives over here, when you act like shit ain't that serious, when you try... Oh, I don't want to talk politics. That's a fucking privilege.
Politics. I already know where you stand.
Truly. Because, you know what? I'm down. Yo, if anybody ever sits down and says, hey, I want to figure out how to make sure that our kids eat free lunches. Yo, that's a fucking conversation. Let's have that conversation. We are lucky enough to live in Minnesota where our students do get free lunch. Mm-hmm. But that's not for the rest of America. And why the fuck are we not raising hell that they're not feeding our children at a place that they're forced to be?
Mind you, it shouldn't matter because I know some people are going to sit here and say stuff because I can already think of a couple in my head. Feeding wealthy and like kids that are well off for free shouldn't be an issue because why? They're children.
Exactly. It's not their
and what their parents make has nothing to do with the actual child. It is a child.
Exactly.
So we should just feed them because they're children.
And we want equality. Treating everybody equally.
And that should be something that shouldn't be an issue to do equally, is feed all the children.
No, I don't think anybody, and I don't think, like, get through this. Think about this. Do you think anybody should pay to exist? Like,
if you do, I really need you
we can't associate
to be so fucking
we
real.
Can't associate if you think someone should pay to exist. And that's what you're pretty much saying if you think that these kids should be paying for school lunches. They literally would. Okay, so you don't pay for school. The kids can't pay for school lunch, right? So they just stop going to school. And they stop going to school. They become truant. They become truant enough. They go to court. And then there's a court system. Boom. Court system got them. Mm-hmm. School to prison pipeline, baby. It's just an introductory to the court.
Yeah.
Your first meeting. And they gonna try and get your ass again. Because that's what the system's meant to do. We're not actually here to help people. We're here to make money off your suffering. That's what capitalism is. And we have to create a class consciousness. And I think that one thing for my people of color specifically, we have to stop separating from our communities once we get some money. Or looking at our communities as others or creating this hierarchy or elitism within our communities. Because you wouldn't be there without the suffering and the resistance and perseverance of your ancestors who were once in those shoes in worse conditions. And all that shit that you're talking about, people that are currently impoverished, goes right back to your ancestors that were right along with them. Start respecting them. Then you might be getting protected, because you're going to need that protection soon. We have to stay connected to our ancestors. We are not too far from that shit. We are not too far. And we are like, there are some of us who are lucky enough to have connected, who have had black family members who have been successful, who have had created wealth. But there's not enough of us.
Which isn't nobody's fault but the system.
Right. Right. And stop looking down and spitting when you was just down there. Anybody could drop and that shit will land right back on your fucking head.
I think the biggest thing is we need to stop acting like white elites is somewhere that we want to be. Even if it's not as crazy as being on that island and shit like that. Like, it doesn't need to be where, like, that doesn't need to be where we need to be. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, the biggest thing about dividing, right, us between classes, specifically with the addition of all the other hierarchies that we have, whether it's, you know, the patriarchy, racism, you know, things of that nature, is that those also come into play. And like then we get into the conversation, right, of like the idea that is like, as long as like being able to make a white poor man believe that they're better than a poor black person, right? And that, right, which there's no reason to be, because we both on the same levels. We both poor. Mm-hmm. Imagine if we came together.
Right.
What could happen?
Imagine if we started going after the rich, me and you. You go for the eyes, I go for the legs. Like, we work better together. Point blank, period. Mm-hmm. Two voices is better than one. Right. Two brains. And we can't sit here and act like we're not all suffering from capitalism.
And that's how they're able to get, like, the money spent is 95%? The one class. Like, if we weren't all actually struggling the same amount, that would not be the case. Mm-hmm. Even people that are doing well are struggling. Like, people who are doing well are struggling because it was only the top 1%, which are billionaires, that are actually spending money. Which means, like, if we can stop acting like, right, within these systems, in class specifically, because I think class, like, if we can erase that class part and dividing ourselves between classes, that'll really help achieve erasing those spaces between races, hierarchy, and gender hierarchy, and all of those things, because we at least start to see a common ground, like a genuine common ground between each other. And so once we do that, then we can actually, like, get somewhere and be like, y'all can't actually fucking do that. You need to give me some fucking money.
Right. Because at the end of the day, even though we didn't spend that much, the reason why they were able to spend that much was because of us. That just means that they're able, that 95% that they spent was the money that we should have really had in our pockets. Because they keep on holding and keep on holding and keep on holding and not paying workers, not paying that livable wage. Like, I can't remember what the average minimum, like, livable wage in America is, but I can tell you,
higher than the minimum wage. That's a standard, that's for sure.
Right, that's in law. And if that don't tell you that capitalism is ass backwards, I don't know what will.
It's probably more than double that.
Right. And so I just wanted to point out on page 161, I really like the two paragraphs that he talked about with capitalism. And I think that, like, truly, it's even hard for me to have a real conversation morally with someone when they are pro-capitalism. And look at me sideways when I tell you, no, I'm not pro-capitalism. When I tell you, no, I'm actually very anti. And so on page 161, he says, I use anti-capitalist because conservative defenders of capitalism regularly say their liberal and socialist opponents are against capitalism. They say efforts to provide a safety net for all people are anti-capitalist. They say attempts to prevent monopolies are anti-capitalist. They say efforts that strengthen weak unions and weaken exploitive owners are anti-capitalist. They say plans to normalize worker ownership and regulation protecting consumers, workers, and environments from big businesses are anti-capitalist. They say laws taxing the richest more than the middle class, redistributing, pilfered wealth, and guaranteeing basic incomes are anti-capitalist. They say wars to end poverty are anti-capitalist. They say campaigns to remove the profit motive from essential life sectors like education, healthcare, utilities, mass media, and incarceration are anti-capitalist. And in doing so, these conservative defenders are defining capitalism. They define capitalism as the freedom to exploit people into economic ruin, the freedom to assassinate unions, the freedom to prey on unprotected consumers, workers, and environments, the freedom to value quarterly profits over climate change, the freedom to undermine small businesses and cushion corporations, the freedom from competition, the freedom not to pay taxes, the freedom to heave the tax burden onto the middle and lower class, the freedom to commodify everything and everyone, the freedom to keep poor people poor and middle income people struggling to stay middle income and make rich people richer. The history of capitalism, of world warring, classing, slave trading, enslaving, colonizing, depressing wages, and dispossessing land and labor and resources and rights bears out the conservative definition of capitalism. If you think about what has been the biggest profits in America, if you see how we make the most profits in America, it's because we're able to cut these corners. The biggest right now, they say that AI is the biggest booming thing in the economy right now. Mm-hmm. And why is that? Because it's able to exploit people. Most people that you know will not have a job because of AI. And what is that doing? Exploiting the working class. And who's going to get paid? The white collar.
You know, somebody said, I came across something, somebody said that the reason why AI exists the way that it does today is because people want, like, to have somebody enslaved, but clearly we can't, like, it's against law, can't do that technically, right, to have an enslaved person. So here's how you get around that.
Yep.
Somebody that at your beck and call, somebody, right, even though it's technology, right, to be at your beck and call to do whatever they like you ask of them.
Yep. And that's why I'm so disappointed in humanity, because I think that AI is going to just end up doing what we always said it was going to do, because people would rather have that. The mass majority of people would rather have that. They would, like, if I told you that you didn't have to do actual work for the rest of your life, there are people who would sit there and look at that as the best thing ever. Mm-hmm. Even if I said, like, you could do, or you could live a life where you could work and do whatever you wanted to do as work. Mm-hmm. And it's sick sometimes. It's sickening sometimes.
Yeah.
Because we'd rather just... I think that a lot of people, due to capitalism, because we're just looking to make the money so fast and make constant gratification, that we're so used to that we're eventually going to get to the point where, like, how the internet first was so fucking slow. Mm-hmm. Took 10 minutes to damn load up a page. Now people...
Your computer was the size of a whole ass room.
Right. And now we sit here and we get mad when it takes 10 seconds to load up a website. We'll sit there and be like, what the fuck?
Because I look, he got irritated earlier today for something.
Right. And it's like, we're looking for that instant gratification. And I think that goes along with what you were saying. And I think that that's going to go so far in how instant can it get? How much more instant can it get?
Yeah.
This should be making me feel like we living in the Matrix, dog.
For real.
This shit can't be real. This shit can't be real, but it's real. Mm-hmm. But it is real. No, it is real. But it is real. You feel me?
Yeah.
I'm getting tired. I don't know if you can tell.
Yeah, let's move on to the next two so we can be done with this.
Alright, so we're going to answer these two, probably wrapping them up. How do we move away from racializing spaces, and what would it take to start holding individuals accountable for their actions and not the spaces that they are in? I've got some answers for that.
Yeah, I think particularly with moving away from racializing spaces is to stop, in a way, like stop like racializing or attaching, I'll say this, right? Attaching certain behaviors to races, not necessarily stop racializing ourselves, because like you said early in the book, to be anti-racist is to also identify different, like your race, right? And so it's not to stop racializing ourselves, but to stop like putting behaviors and stereotypes and stuff of that nature onto races, because that's how we then get, right, racialized spaces. When we look at, you know, ghettos and whatnot, like somebody tells you that they go into the hood, they go into the ghetto, you're gonna think of a bunch of black people, and that's a problem. Yep. Because there are far more people than just black people in the hood and in the ghetto for you to have that idea. Truly. And so, like, that's where that comes from, right? Because ghetto also has an attachment of behaviors, whether it's violence or other things of that nature, right? Which is wrong, because the term ghetto is just about a place and something that is done to somebody. So, like, to attach a behavior, then to attach a race to that word is wrong. And so that's how I feel like we get the racialized spaces. And so in order to move from that, we need to stop attaching behaviors to races.
Right. And I think that it's if we want to look at history, I really like to connect things to history, and if there is empathy within this situation, well, there are other similar situations. It's definitely, not, I don't want to compare atrocities or compare struggles at all, but to understand, to compare the empathy you feel when you hear this. If you hear this, then your heart should also hurt when you hear this. So it makes me think of, like, when we sit here and we attach the word ghetto to blackness, that's wrong. During the Holocaust, we look at the Jewish people. We don't look at them as ghetto, but that's what they were living in.
That's what the word derives from, is because they took Jewish people, they put them in ghettos, right? Because that's where the word comes from. But if you hear that and you go to the Holocaust Museum or whatnot, you're not going to sit there and
call them ghetto.
Attach that word to them and their behaviors. It's going to be a tragedy that should have never happened to them. And that should be the same for black people, because that same, like, similar situation happened to black people in America, where then they were pushed into these ghettos, right? Yep. These impoverished communities. Yep. Except it never went away. It just became normalized. Exactly.
And we got to look at it just as that. Be mad at this fucking system. Just like we were mad at the Nazis for what they did to Jewish people, rightfully so. Fuck the Nazis. Fuck them. And what they did to them and subjugated Jewish people to was fucking terrible. Now, America, it's time for your accountability. Who did the Nazis get their fucking ideology from? And their systems of oppression from?
It didn't come out their ass.
No, it didn't come out their ass. It came from us. And what we have done to the indigenous and black people of America. And once you start looking at it like that, and we see that black people live in ghettos, and we call black people ghetto. And Nazis got their ideas. Yeah, I see what's fucking happening here, and we got to start holding them accountable. Stop fucking calling people by the struggle that they go through. People are not the struggle that they go through. And we need to start looking at people as that. And a beautiful perspective that I try to live through every day, and I think it elevates everyone's life if you start incorporating this into your life, is on page 171. Ibram X Khendi says, to be anti-racist is to recognize there is no such thing as the real world. Only real worlds, multiple world views. And everybody has a different perspective on how the world is and their life experiences, and kind of how I was saying earlier about how like you and your family can all grow up in the same house and everybody come out different. That's the same way here, is like we have to have an understanding of that as well, is that like, yo, you came, like, you can say you and this person came up out of the same community, and y'all didn't come up out of the same community the same. You didn't have the same successes. You didn't have the same struggles. Still doesn't take away from the fact that the system was doing what it was doing. You just happened to, one person may have happened to get caught up in that system. One person may have slipped up out of the system. And if anything, the person who slipped up out of the system and didn't get caught up in it should have more empathy and not look down upon them, because they were only one hop, skip, jumping away from being caught up in that system. Remember that. You ain't, like, just like, you know, I don't like quoting billionaires too much, but Jay-Z, he wasn't wrong. We all niggas at the end of the day. Same with majority of people of color. And you know what? Poor white people too. Shit, the system will happily take you in too. Because guess what? The modern slave can be white. The modern slave doesn't have a skin color that it has to be associated with. You just gotta do something. Do something that we deem illegal.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mind you, if I think about it, like, white people make up a majority of our prison system. It's just that how much, right, of different races that are in there is where the disparities lie. Like,
yeah.
Yes, white people hold the vast majority, which means that you have so many white people that are slaves, and if that's what's going to get you to abolish the system, then I suppose. Right. I don't know. I think you should just do it because people are people, but
right.
I digress.
I believe in the liberation of everybody, and that includes the white slaves that are in prison right now. And we all need to look at everybody and see how everybody is truly affected by the system. There's only a very few minute amount of people who are actually benefiting from the system and only benefit from the system. Because at the end of the day, the system is biting you in the ass. Because that is what capitalism does. You are not part of the top of the fucking pyramid. And if you ain't part of the top of the pyramid, then you getting fucked. Y'all ain't learned about a pyramid scheme yet?
And I know y'all have. You just refuse. You refuse to put it where it needs to be put. I want to talk about lizard people. You need to start talking about
capitalism. Actual
shit that's happening on the ground that you're facing every day. Not facing lizard people every day.
Put that energy from the flat earth, fake moon landing, lizard people. Put that shit into capitalism. And you know what? If you think about it, all those things connected, all those theories that y'all got, wouldn't be an issue if we just got rid of capitalism. Because there would have been no need to race to the moon, to supposedly fake a moon landing, if we were truly just in community with the countries around this world.
Yeah. There would be no need for lizard people to be at the top of the pyramid.
Right. Like, truly, if y'all motherfuckers just start looking at capitalism as a pyramid scheme, what else is there to really say? I mean, because it is. We've been told, we all know how a pyramid scheme works and how fucked it is, and how at the end of the day there's only going to be one person making money, and y'all all going to be getting fucked. So what's the difference? What's the difference? Once you give me an answer that's actually like valid, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear someone's answer.
You know, this is gonna definitely be off topic because I just thought about it.
Yeah.
Like, we want to talk about how history repeats itself. Flat earthers. Like, the idea that we went from, like, pear shape, I think it was at one point, to people, who was it? Was it Columbus?
He thought it was flat.
Yeah, he thought it was flat, where he was going to fall off the face of the earth.
He should have. Fuck, if anybody was going to fall off the face of the earth, let it be that nigga.
I really want, like, my thing about flat earthers was, if you really believed it was flat, somebody needs to go out onto that ocean and prove it. I want to see you fall off the face of the earth. Because, like,
yeah,
well, maybe not fall, but at least see the edge. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Somebody needs to take that journey to prove it. I need some proof.
But I honestly, like, seeing how stupid these Trump supporters have been, I think that some people are so wrapped up in these theories that, like, even if they, like, went up into outer space and looked at this earth from above and saw how this shit is round,
They gonna say it's AI.
right, they're gonna be like, oh, this shit GTA, bro. This shit ain't IRL. This shit GTA.
They so wrapped up in their conspiracy theories, they not seeing what's happening on the ground.
Right, and, like, I feel like, and actually the flat earthers is a good conversation because, like, it's the same amount of willful ignorance that you choose to believe in a flat earth. Because, nigga, why you got a shadow? Why do you got a shadow? Okay, cool. like there goes the answer to your question. The fucking earth is round. Now, capitalism good. Then why are there so many disparities between races? Why is there so many disparities between classes? Why should there be someone who has rotting food in their fridge and has plenty of food still continuing, and they have endless amounts of food, and there's people who can't afford their next meal, who don't know what they're going to eat today, who went to sleep hungry, children? Is that a society that you're fucking fine living in? Think about that. There's a baby out there sitting there crying, stomach hurts, rumbling,
because they locked up all the formula,
and the mom don't know what she gonna do. The father possibly don't know what they gonna do. They're both struggling, and their baby's crying. They can't do nothing about it.
And just because it happened to you don't mean it should happen to somebody else. And don't tell me that bullshit about how they should never had a kid. Because you know what? You're the reason why they had to have the kid. Hot take? Like, not really. But
it's
like,
not a hot take, because the same people that would sit there and blame them for having the kid are the same people who are taking away their rights to stop themselves from having kids. Blocking contraceptives. Blocking abortions. Get your shit together. What type of society do you want to live in? Personally, my core values in a society, I think, are the youth, education, and I think just overall social programs. That's what I think should always be on the front running of any great country. If you want to uplift your people, that's what you need. The social programs will help crime, reducing crime, because we're helping people get out of poverty, helping people get out of impoverished conditions. Because nobody should be in impoverished conditions. The children, investing in our youth. They're the fucking future who will be taking care of us, wiping your old ass. Yes, I want to invest in them. Nah,
Otherwise, they're going to leave you with a shitty diaper.
you gonna be a shitty booty ass nigga. Fuck. Number 3, education. Doesn't need to be said. Yes, actually it does need to be said clearly. Because people are afraid to pick up a book. Be fighting back. Y'all be fighting back books more than fighting back on how these pedophiles are fucking coming into office.
Because you know what's crazy? If you don't like the book, don't read it.
Right.
You don't have to read every book that comes out. You don't.
And we sit here and we want to live in a better world, constantly have the best of things and have the best of the best everything.
Mm-hmm.
We can't keep on innovating if we are not investing in our education. Innovation comes with tomorrow. And you got to invest in tomorrow. And right now, shit. America can't promise tomorrow. That's the reality. Alright, so that was about it for everything today. We are going to move on to our questions. Alright, so we have our questions for section 6, and we're going to be talking about chapters 14 and 15, which is chapter 14 is about sexuality and chapter 15 is about gender. Our first question is, how has patriarchal structures affected black families?
How does calling your sons the head of the household affect gender ideology and the overall raising of sons?
What would living in a world that uses feminism ideology look like?
Why are queer people over-sexualized?
How can we integrate anti-homophobic and anti-transphobic beliefs and actions into our daily lives? And before we let you go, we want to talk to you about our upcoming book we have called Unbuild Walls by Silky Shah. Unbuild Walls, Why Immigrant Justice Needs Abolition. We'll be starting this book after our section 7, so we have 2 more sections left after this episode, and we will also leave resources to help you find this book, and you can also look at the resources in the link below already to find that book.
We'll also link some new resources if you go to the company that prints the book. When you buy a copy of the book, you also get a free ebook as well. So that's ways in order for you to share with your friends, to be able to read along with us for a more affordable cost.
And the company that prints the books is Haymarket Books, and that's haymarketbooks.org if you want to support that company. No ad, not an ad, but to have access to that ebook as well.
I believe they also and they might still have it going, they might not, but they were offering free ebooks for that without buying the book itself. So if they still have that, promotion going, you can get a free ebook version. You just have to order it, and it comes with 2 other books that talk about immigration and the abolition of immigration as well.
And we look forward to working with y'all and reading this book because the times obviously need it. So, yeah, we look forward to it. See y'all next time. We appreciate y'all listening, and we wish y'all nothing but great health and wealth and a peace of mind. And stay safe out there. Ashe.
Ashe.
To truly choose to love is heroic.
Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people. And we're going to have to put it back in the hands of the people.
It takes the